Everybody, Andrea Waddell here. I have a simple exercise for you to try to improve your color and composition skills with this exercise. So you're going to start with two complementing colors. So if you have a color wheel, choose any two complements that are on opposite sides of each other, and then I'm going to explain what I have written down here as we go along. But we're going to use those complements fully saturated. We're going to desaturate them, and we're also going to have a light version of them mixing with white, and a super dark value version of them where you're going to mix those colors with black. And then we're going to desaturate the two complements by mixing them together. And that is essentially your restrained and contained color palette for this exercise. And constraining your palette is going to help you because it just makes decision making, it simplifies it. So this is Viridian Green that I'm using, and it is a cad red mixed with some orange for these two pairs of opposites on the color wheel. So it's a green, blue, and a red, orange. So we've got those two colors fully saturated at the bottom. We've got light versions of them with white. And then we've got the darkest value versions of them mixed with black. And then we have the versions of them mixed together, and it gives that kind of brownie color, but it will also give us a gray when we mix the brownie color with some white. So that's the entire palette, and you can use any complementing color with that. And then just pull out your sketchbook or whatever surface you're working with. I'm using acrylic paints here, and I've used a retarder to slow down the drying time. I really like that product. And I'm just going to start exploring my composition. So I've come in really bold with this shape, using both sides of my notebook. I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. I'm doing that because I like the format, and it is kind of forcing me to paint not inside just a square. But also I'm exploring the idea of putting two canvases together as a little diptych. But anyway, so now I'm creating some grays with the complements that are mixed together. You see how that becomes a gray, and that's going to happen with really any two sets of complements. If you keep working at them, they will eventually cancel out the original color. Like the green is going to get canceled out, or the red will get canceled out if you keep mixing them together and trying. But you'll ultimately come up with a gray. So what I'm playing around with here is when you're using a fully saturated color, it usually works best, I find, this is my opinion, but as I've been looking at paintings for years and observing things, I think fully saturated colors work really nicely in a muted palette. If you're just using them as accent colors, so just a little bit of them. And I'm looking for the spot. Where I place that red spot, it's not quite the spot. It's not at all the spot, but I'm going to keep looking for this composition, and you'll see I struggle with it, but ultimately it resolves. So what I think is really fun about this is you can observe what happens with finding relationships between values and finding harmony in those balances. So I really liked what happened with that light pink, which is just the red, orange, and the white on top of the Viridian Green and the white. I like that light on light. And now I'm making a little mistake here. What I'm doing is I'm putting white on top of that white surface, and you can see the result is nothing at all. It doesn't work. So I'm going to try to activate the rest of that white surface. I'm thinking I'm going to leave this whole area as negative space, or kind of empty, quiet space, but I need to activate it with just at least some marks before I put white paint over it. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm placing shapes on top of shapes. And what's really nice about working with acrylics, I really like, is how quickly you can put colors on top of colors without mud happening as a result, because it dries so fast. I'm in Colorado, so it dries even faster. I want to interrupt for just a second here to talk about 2 retreats I'm running in 2026 if you want to come and paint with me in person. One in San Miguel de Allende in April. And then for the 4th year in a row, I am running a retreat in the south of France where I lived for 30 years. And it's an exquisite retreat, and it is the 4th year running. So if you're interested, all of that is in the notes below. Okay, back to what we were talking about. So this has dried a little bit, the marks. So I'm putting white on top of the marks, but it's still not enough. So if you put white down on top of white paper, you're not going to get any depth at all. So it's better to put a transparent color down or something before you put the white down. But I was just trying to see what would happen if I put white on top of white or white on top of just a few marks, and not much happened. So now I'm just playing around. The gray is from the Viridian green and the red-orange mixed with white. And what's really nice about working with this limited palette is that everything, no matter what color you pull and work with, it's all going to be in harmony because they are connected. They're complements. I've mixed them together, so they're going to have colors in common for the most part. So looking for this composition, I'm looking for straight lines, organic shapes, strong shapes, small shapes, shapes inside of shapes. So really, it's fun to play with this as you're going along and working in your notebook before you move to a big canvas or even a regular canvas. It frees you up for so much more experimentation and exploration. And if you make a big mistake or you goof it up, it doesn't matter. It's a sketchbook, but you still take the process seriously. So I tend to do this a lot. I'll put a dark shape down and then I'll come on top of it with light paint so that I get the depth of the dark is there. And then when the light color comes on top of it, that light color is more interesting to look at, and it's also brighter just because of the contrast of the dark color underneath. So now I fussed around with this part of this composition for quite a long time. I was really trying to push myself to make these bold shapes out of the gate and kind of come up with this cruciform-like shape, and then a variety of other shapes surrounding it. It's not there yet. So I have actually cheated and I have pulled in a phthalo green. So I told you I'd used a Viridian green and a red orange, but I looked at the next color on the color wheel next to the blue green, and a phthalo green is kind of what sits next to it. And so I've pulled that in. It's very bright when it's mixed with white. It's actually a really beautiful color. It's not working here yet. It's it's pulling a lot of focus. And the composition isn't here yet. I'm just trying, but at this point when I'm playing this back and looking at this, I can see that I'm trying to respond to that beautiful blue by lightening areas so that there's not as strong of a contrast up in that area, which would lead my eye to look in that area up there that I just covered in white versus the blue. But then I added this red, and now we're looking at the red color, the red, the blue, the cruciform. So what's kind of what you're getting better and better at when you do these kinds of composition practice exercises is at making decisions, trying something. It doesn't work, like that blue. I loved it, but it really was just taking away from kind of where I wanted our eye to be focused. I'm kind of more interested in those little shapes up in the right-hand corner there. And that blue shape was just stealing focus, as is this red. I'm trying to find the spot for the accent color. So here we're coming in again, and because it's just so easy, not only easy to paint on top of acrylic, paint on top of paint like this, but it does blend a little bit, and that's what gives it its alive quality and depth. And it's fun. You see something, you change your mind, you come over it, you work in one area of the painting, you let it dry a little bit so that it doesn't get too muddied. Then you come in and you try something else. So I'm fussing around here with that shape that is the Viridian green and the red mixed. And I'm struggling with that shape there. It's kind of awkward. And so I flipped it around so I can see things more clearly, and it's immediately evident to me when I flipped it around what I needed to do, which is at least address that negative space area, which was white on top of white, by laying down a mix of the Viridian green and the red orange, and then treating it as a glaze. So putting it down on top of the white, which has a little texture on it from the paint, and then rubbing it away so that we get just a glaze. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back over that with white so that I can get the quality of white that I wanted. So that was pretty deliberate. Some of these things I'm kind of guessing and playing, and some of them I'll make a bold decision like that of, well, that white wasn't working, and I want it to be white, but I want it to be white with depth. So coming back in on top of this gray color with the Viridian mixed with white. So it's light on top of dark. And then I'm going to treat the brushwork differently so that it's looser, and that's what we mean by painterly, is you move your brush around, you keep it kind of loose. We can see some brush strokes. See how I'm flipping my brush around? And that's what creates that kind of painterly-like quality, and I'm doing that on top of the dark, painting in that way so that is a contrast with some of the other parts of the composition. Just finding my way, pretty intuitive with an intention. My intention coming in was I want some strong shapes, and I also want a lot of breathing room. I want big areas where it's still interesting. The focus is it's empty-ish space, but still interesting to look at, and then little areas of complexity. That's what I think I am going for. And I would encourage you to do that too. Try to articulate with language what it is that you're going for, what you're trying to create. what you want the effect to be. It's going to take me a long time in this painting to address this center shape. I'm going to struggle with this for a while, but now I've pulled in this white line and I've improved it. I didn't like that kind of round, strange shape. So that's given me pause and something to look at that I like. And now I've taken out this other awkward bit. And now it's starting to come together. Now I like it. Now there's nothing in this composition that is so awkward that it's bothering me, that I'm focusing on it, that it doesn't feel right, that it's, clumsy looking. What I'm not doing, which is probably something that you should be doing even when you're sketching, is just to stand back for a minute and look at it. So now I've flipped my brush around and I'm just scratching into the surface for my lines. And now I have found a better spot for a fully saturated accent color. And coming in, as my intention was, for a better kind of white. So I'm using that loose brushwork again, so that this big swath of space is still interesting to look at. It's still alive, but it still reads as empty space next to these shapes that I've been creating. And so the final thing that I do here is I tone down the value, because otherwise this center shape is not only a strong shape, but it's also a strong value. So it just dominated the entire piece. And if I come in with this light gray, it's starting to work with the other colors. It's less of a strong value contrast, more of a subtle one that matches the rest of the colors. And that's where I got to. Give it a try. Thanks for watching.